Welcome, everyone, to episode number... I did it again, Kajan. Did it again. I forgot. What episode is it, Kajan? Polar Opposites. I'm Spencer Byers alongside Kajan Thiruthanikasalam. And we're here again for Polar Opposites. Missed a week. Busy last week. Myself, and actually Alain as well, as we missed the outrage as well last week. He and I were doing a ball hockey tournament, and Kajan was busy doing Sportsnet stuff, so we just hadn't had the chance to link up last week. But back together again here on this lovely Tuesday afternoon, and here to talk about some more ball, Kajan.
It's episode 5.
Episode number 5. See, I knew I was gonna forget. I keep, episode this of the outrage, episode this of Polar Opposites. Al keep asking me when I'm going to stop saying the numbers. I think I should start because I keep forgetting them. But anyway, but big episode, Cajun. Because we missed a week, we have 2 weeks of content to cover. And I think the first one we have to cover, Cage, without even trying to intro anything else. WNBA All-star game. I ended up sleeping through it, as I've been sleeping through a lot of things recently. But the one thing I didn't sleep through was the 3-point contest. And oh my goodness, am I happy I didn't. Because what a 3-point contest it was. You don't exactly expect, when you watch the WNBA skills comp and then the 3-point competition, that you're going to see something historic. And then you do. When, I believe I'm going to pronounce his last name right. I was going to check before I started, but I'm 99% sure I've got this right. It's Sabrina Ionescu, I believe is how you pronounce it, right, Kajan? Ionescu. You know what? I knew I was going to mess that up too, and I remember hearing, because I watched her when she played at Oregon, and I'm a big fan of her. So Ionescu, she broke the record for WNBA, and I believe broke the NBA record, if there is one, for three.
I think it was 31. It was 31.
For score in the 3-point contest. Sabrina had 37 of a possible 40 points. She missed 2 shots the entire run. And obviously wins 3-point competition by a wide landslide in the last round. And oh my goodness, Kajan, I watched it live, and I watched the first round, and I was like, I don't think she's gonna win. I believe it's Whitcomb had a great first round. She had 28. Whitcomb, pardon me. She had 28 from the Seattle Storm. I was like, I think she's probably gonna win it. She had a really nice jumper, and then Sabrina. 37 in the second round. Again, missed 2 shots, 1 money ball and 1 1-pointer. Hit both,
and it was the first one.
Yeah, and she hit the 2. I want to say they're called splash balls. The ones from
starry balls.
The starry balls that are from they're 2 shots from the basically elbows, but they're like I'll say the heart in the Alabama system under Nate Oates. They're called the hardened spots from way deep. And she hit both of them, and then missed 1 1-pointer and 1 money ball to go 37 out of 40, which is absolutely ridiculous. She then called out Steph Curry for a 3-point comp during the offseason, which I would be here for, Kajan. I'd be here for it. Now, again, I don't think Sabrina would win it. I don't think Sabrina would win, but with that kind of performance, I mean, hard to bet against her, Cage.
It was otherworldly. And I was just watching through this again, just about a couple of minutes ago. I'm like, do you realize how dialed in you have to be to hit 37? You're not hearing you're not hearing noise. You got to tune out the outside noise and just be focused, and it's just you and the bucket. You realize with so many fans standing up and cheering and screaming and all that, you realize how you have to be locked in to have a performance like that. And we've been spoiled to seeing this over the years with guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, but Sabrina Ionescu, man, she said, "Don't forget about me." She said, "Don't forget about me." And I think a performance like this, it's really refreshing to see. It's really refreshing because it just brings about attention to the WNBA, not only to the WNBA, but women's basketball in a positive manner. And a 3-point shootout between Steph and Sabrina, that's pay-per-view right there.
And my favorite part about what you just said, Kajan, and it's something I want to bring up too, is how the positive news. It's not negative news, not, a girl not hitting one or not hitting a lot. Like, she basically went perfect. As good as I think you'll ever get. Like, I don't think Steph Curry will ever go perfect in a three-point competition. I bet you he could. You give him enough crack, Steph Curry's going to go perfect one time. But,
I see. I don't want to bet against Steph because he might actually do that.
Exactly, right? Like, it's you don't want to say he couldn't because obviously he could. But, two cracks at it. You get two chances. There's no like, have 5 or 6 chances. She got 2 chances. She had 2 rounds. And if she didn't win the first one, she would have been done. She would not have hit enough to make it out of the first round. She would not have got the chance to hit the 37 out of 40. She would not have the chance. Right? So not only showing that she kind of warmed up and then hit the 37 out of 40, missing 2 shots in her entire round, and again, we've never seen that. Like, we've seen some great performances in the men's rank. Larry Bird wearing the warm-up, winning the competition. Hitting the last money ball to win it in the warm-up. The warm-up sweater he was wearing over his jersey, right? Like, that's iconic. But he didn't go with 37 for 40. Like, he didn't hit that many. Larry Bird's an all-time great three-point shooter. Not taking anything away from a Boston Celtics legend, but I don't think we've ever seen someone do this like that before. And I was so excited to talk about this last week because, again, I watched this. I watched it in real time, wrote it down in my notes on my computer. I ran and grabbed it because I couldn't believe what I was watching. Because I watched her do this, and I went, poor Whitcomb, who went after her because she had the best first round, dropping 28 compared to Sabrina's 26. Literally, like, how do you compare? She had 24 points in her last round.
And it wasn't even a bad score either.
Yeah, which was the second best score of the night. Well, 30 if you include Sabrina's first round, but second best of the third round. Second best of any other player other than her and Sabrina. So, you can't even compare it. Right? Like, it's so ridiculous to think about a player hitting 37 out of 40, especially not even going last. Like, she had to hit 37. She had to hit that number. She was going to lose. That was, with a player behind her, knowing that Whitcomb had to go, right? Like, that's even more ludicrous that she didn't have to hit that score. She just kept, draining them. Absolute automatic. And it just shows that, the NBA's got a lot of skill, but WNBA got some skill too. Like, don't, not trying to compare the ball or anything, but there are a lot of skilled girls, a lot of skilled women in the WNBA, and they deserve their flowers.
And this might be a hot take in terms of this. I think they're more skilled and fundamental than NBA players.
Oh, fundamental for sure. I don't know, no doubt about that. Fundamental, easy, yeah. The fundamental.
The only difference is
the
big, like the NBA's got skill like that, but like athleticism separates. Obviously, athleticism separates like the two from each other. But then smart skills, fundamentals, they're right. The women are right up there with them, if not more.
Yeah, and I'd argue they have better fundamentals because the men don't learn them anymore. Like, you see, U9 teams, U11 teams, U13 teams, they all want to shoot threes. They all want to, shoot 30-footers. They're practicing 30-footers. They're practicing half court. They're not practicing one dribble off the block hook shot. They're not practicing, 2 dribbles into the paint floater. They're not practicing driving to the lane and trying to go up through a big. They're not practicing that. They're not. They're practicing dribble behind the back, step back 3 from 35 feet. That's what they're practicing. So they don't have fundamentals anymore. They don't.
They're trying to practice which play is sexier.
Exactly. They're trying to be Steph Curry. They're trying to be James Harden. They're trying to be, when no offense, how many people are Steph Curry? One guy. One guy, Steph Curry. Klay Thompson, great shooter, not Steph Curry. Kevin Durant, great shooter, great 3-level scorer, not Steph Curry. James Harden, great shooter, great scorer, not Steph Curry. Trae Young, great shooter, not Steph Curry. Luka Doncic, great shooter, not Steph Curry.
I could argue his stud could be like that one day.
Maybe. But guess what, Cage? We still got how many years to wait till, little Curry 3.0 comes out.
Man was practicing his shooting from the womb.
Like, it isn't fair to these little kids to try to for them, for not only people to allow them to train like, but attempt them to think they could be like Steph Curry. Because I'm not saying don't dare to dream, but I'm saying how many people are really like Steph Curry right now? Like, how many guys can do what he can do every single night, night in, night out? And yeah, he obviously has bad shooting nights. Everybody does. But he consistently, more often than not, hits shots that are ludicrous. And kids trying to replicate that at 11 years old is stupid. It's
even more ludicrous.
They should be driving to the lane, kicking out, sky hook, floater, layup left hand, layup right hand, dribbling left hand. Like, they should be really learning the fundamentals to get to shooting 35 footers. Not shooting 35 footers and expecting the close game to work. Expecting, to be able to hit a midi if you can shoot a 35 footer. Because as we've seen with some players, they're very different. Trying to hit an 18 footer is different from hitting a 35 footer. They just are. Different arc, different bodies, different shape, different way to look, different way the basket looks, different shot. So let's move out. Let's work 3 feet out instead of 35 feet in. Because I guarantee you, shooting 3 feet out and going farther out is going to give you a lot. It's going to pay dividends later than shooting 35 feet in.
Yeah.
So, and again, women's ball is more system ball too, which also I think is more advantageous because not only are they running more things, so they get open more, you'd think, because of that lack of athleticism, just being able to create your own shot by taking 2 dribbles and stepping back, like I'll say Jason Tatum, like Luka Doncic, like James Harden, like Steph Curry. They don't need a whole lot of room. These girls maybe need a little more room. So guess what? They have to run stuff. They got to run scissors into a wheel action. They got to do that. Scissors meaning 2 players cut across the blocks, going diagonally down the lane, basically. You go from like elbow to slot, both ways, and you cut through. And then wheel meaning you run in a wheel where one player screens, one player runs up the wheel as a runner, and it's a blocker mover, but they call it the wheel action, depending on how you want to run it, regardless. You know? That's important to me. I wish kids ran more stuff and didn't just expect athleticism to get them through things. Because, yeah, it will. Like, we've seen guys come right out of high school and make it work because they're athletes. But I wish that these guys knew a little bit more about offense. So, like, hey, if the shot ain't going, let's run other things to try to get guys open. Maybe, just maybe that would help out. Now, actually, to the All-Star game, Breanna Stewart's team did beat AJ Wilson's All-Star team 143-127. Talk about a shootout.
What is this, the NBA?
Yeah, I know, eh? With that kind of score line, you got to think about it. And I got to also be honest here, Kajan. I haven't looked at the men's All-Star game minutes here in a while because who watches All-Star games? Especially the men's. Dear Lord, they're so bad. But like I'm looking at the distribution of minutes. Everyone's playing about 15 to 20 minutes. Everyone's playing about the same, which I really like. I kind of like everyone's playing, evenly distributed minutes. Obviously, it's kind of impossible to perfectly equally distribute them, but it's still nice to see a lot of these girls played like basically half a game. Like that's really nice. That's a positive. You're having a good experience at the All-Star game. Maybe you're first, like Aaliyah Boston. Yep. Like her first All-Star game, rookie year, first All-Star game. She plays 19 minutes in the starting lineup. Like that's cool. Like no one can say that's not cool, right? Yeah. So, I really like the distribution, of the minutes in this WNBA All-Star game. But Kajan, what'd you make of the game? Again, I slept through it, so I'll plead ignorance. What'd you make of the game?
I mean, minutes distribution, and sure, when you look at it firsthand, like the score pops out. It's a high-scoring game. But there's a lot of talent around there. Like it was kind of like New York Liberty versus Las Vegas Aces, like the super team edition. Because obviously with Team Stewart, she gonna pick her girls, and then Team Wilson, she go pick her team. She go pick her homies. But there's a lot of good. But it isn't just the girls like Ionescu or Asia Wilson or Stewart. You got someone like Jewel Lloyd who's really stepped it up in a big way since Stewart left the Storm. A game high 31 points on 10 made threes. There's talent around. There was talent that was showcased in that All-Star game, and I hate that it had to take a performance like from Sabrina Ionescu in the 3-point contest for the WNBA All-Star game to be showcased. But it's refreshing. It's refreshing to see a more positive outlook on the WNBA and women's basketball just in general, and hopefully, and there's going to be more talent coming out of the college ranks too. Caitlin Clark, Paige from UConn. Women's basketball is in a really good place right. It's not in the greatest place right now, but it's pretty close to it right now.
Couple other names coming out of the women's rank. I'm not sure if Angel Reese is a top draft pick, but I know she's obviously had a pretty star-studded career out of LSU. They added Haley Van Lyth out of Louisville. Did those reigning NCAA women's champions LSU Tigers, which you didn't know is Louisiana State University. You know, you've also, again, as you mentioned, UConn under Coach Gino. They got lots of girls coming out every single year. They've had, number one recruit after number one recruit after number one recruit. Right, so they've got a lot of talent, obviously, that will go to the WNBA ranks. You've got some other great teams like the Gamecocks out of South Carolina. They obviously distribute lots of talent. Mississippi State distribute lots of talent. The SEC as a whole, so the Southeastern Conference, they just crush. They just fill the WNBA with talent, and that will continue to work. And with so little teams, only 10 teams, I believe, in the WNBA, 5-5.
Mm-hmm.
That makes the talent pool really good. That's what people don't seem to get. Is when the NBA is 30 or 30. I think it's 30 teams in the NBA right now.
It's 12 teams in the WNBA.
What? Sorry.
12 teams in the WNBA.
So they're 6-6. I couldn't remember if it was 6-6 or 5-5, but I knew it was even numbers. Mm. So the NBA is 15-15. There's 30 in the NBA. So because there's so many different teams, the talent is equally distributed. The WNBA doesn't have that. There's only 12 teams, as you mentioned, Kajan. So that means the talent is so compact in the WNBA. You know how talented you have to be to play in the WNBA? Like, think about it. Think about it if it was 10 teams. That means 1/3 of the players that play in the NBA would be able to play in the WNBA, not including the G League, not including Europe. Just a third, 33% of players. So think about if 33% of the NBA didn't exist, or just 33% of the league was in circulation. You know how talented those teams would be? Those would be genuine all-star teams.
Mm-hmm.
So the WNBA is going to need to expand, not only because the sport's getting bigger, which I do think it is, as much as I know it does lose money. It will eventually make money. I have semi-faith that it will, eventually, when people start realizing that these women are so talented and are really good at what they do.
But see, that's the problem. And I don't think this is like an indictment of women's basketball, but it's an indictment of society, because let's be real here. Society, at least the ones that are prevalent on social media, let's just say are not the brightest. But it is trending in the right. But at least for the game of women's basketball, it is trending in the right direction. It is trending in the right direction, and I just hope that it continues.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll elaborate on what you're meaning. So, Gideon, a rather popular YouTuber in the U.S., has over 7.5 million subscribers on the platform. He pulled a prank going to the WNBA game, going to a WNBA game, and fake sleeping. He pulled the sleeping prank at a WNBA game. Because he pulled that prank, the NBA has now banned him from any event that they host. Now, if you didn't know, that the NBA has a stake in the WNBA. They do pay some of the WNBA bills. So obviously the NBA would not be impressed at a very popular person like Gideon doing something like this. And not only is it childish and all those things that it definitely is. It was ignorant. It was childish. He shouldn't have done it. I think he knows he shouldn't have done it. I think he's come out and said he shouldn't have done it, but regardless, he did it. You have to actions have consequences, and Gideon's gonna have to deal with those consequences to his actions, regardless of not wanting to do it or should not have done it. You have to deal with the consequences. You know, you can have your cake and eat it too every time. So he's been banned from going to the NBA events, and I think the NBA having this long of a stance, I think is important. But holding that stance, I think, is even more important. Not after a year or two, unless they've specified. You know, if the ban is an outright indefinite ban, leave it that way. Leave it that way. Don't fold after 6 months, a year, 18 months. Hold your position. Show your solidarity. Improve it. And that might also garner some respect across the board.
I'm gonna elaborate on like the entire thing. So he's a YouTuber that's been known for like these pranks before at games. He's been kicked out of games before. He's been kicked out of like sporting events before. You might have known him. You may have known him for having a haircut in the middle of a Timberwolves game, but hey, it's a Timberwolves game. Come on now. We'll get to the Timberwolves and we'll get to the Timberwolves and in particular one delusional NBA player in a second, as Spencer would like to call him, delusional. But he's been known for doing all. He's been known for doing all of this. And he did share this on a podcast afterwards, saying he did have a good time there at the game. And he almost, quote unquote, was close to not doing it. But he was convinced by some of his friends, like, sometimes some of your friends don't have your best interests at heart. And he did say he felt bad, though, and it was a, quote unquote, a dumb thing to do. So then why do it in the first place? So then why it's fun in games when you're having a haircut at an NBA game because like it's funny. It's legit funny. It's legit funny business to see. But in the essence of the WNBA, which is already disrespected as it is, you gotta know better. You gotta know better if you're just. You gotta know better that trying to sleep in the middle of an NBA game, a WNBA game, what repercussions this might cause. And good on the NBA for actually taking a stance on this and banning him indefinitely. My only hope, like you, Spencer, is that the NBA holds its ground, and this is a statement from them not to mess with women's sports or women's basketball, especially the WNBA.
Yeah, again, hopefully they stick to their guns and do not allow the media, or more importantly, Gideon's maybe fan base, into giving him a quote-unquote second chance, because until you earn that second chance, you don't really deserve to get it. But regardless, jumping off the WNBA All-Star game, I want to start off with Darvin Ham, pardon me, before I mess that up. Darvin Ham, if you didn't know, is the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, again, as much as Kajan and I love to dog on the most popular organizations, if that's Philly, the Sixers, if that's the Lakers, and talk about the more lesser-known NBA teams, thus talked about especially. But Darvin Ham's got himself in the media because, of course, after Mike Malone swept and Denver Nuggets swept the Los Angeles Lakers, people were calling and at the
NBA champion Michael Malone
and NBA champion Mike Malone and the Denver Nuggets, after sweeping Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals on their route to the NBA championship, they swept Los Angeles, and at the ceremony in Denver after they won it, they introed him as the Los Angeles Lakers daddy. Now, most of you might have laughed at that. Some of you might have thought that was childish. Don't really care on either. I would think it's pretty funny. I would have probably laughed if I was there. But regardless, Darvin Ham and the Los Angeles Lakers apparently weren't particularly happy that occasion, because Mr. Ham said on a podcast, quote, they were going to get him back, and he had a couple cuss words in there as well. But he they're going to come back for him. And that's where I got to say, what are you talking about? Are you sure about that? Are you sure, Darvin Ham? Are you sure? I'm not sure you're sure. I'm not sure he's going to be employed by the end of next year, but regardless of that, I'm not sure, Kajan. I'm not sure.
He might,
what do you think?
Actually, first of all, he'll probably be employed by the end of next season. Man really said, God bless his soul. This issue ain't over. Boy, please. Ham, please. We all know. We all low key know LeBron runs the team. Let's be real here. Let's be real here. Y'all got nobody to guard. Let's genuinely talk about the Lakers' chances going up against the Nuggets right now, because yes, they did lose some depth in Jeff Green and the great Bruce Brown. I know you're going to be pissed off saying that here by me saying that, but he is the great Bruce Brown. They lost some depth.
Great at what
Thomas
we don't know,
Bryant.
Kajan, but the great, yeah, of course, the great. We don't know what he's great at, Kajan, but yeah, sure, the great. Okay.
Hey, do it all. Guards 1 to 5, better than LeBron. Bruce Brown, NBA champion Bruce Brown, might I add. But genuinely, the Lakers did have a decent offseason. They got all their key pieces back. They brought back Austin Reeves at a reasonable deal, 4 years, $53 million. They got Rui, Vanderbilt. Believe they somehow got D'Lo into the mix with a 2-year, $37 million deal. So all the guys that were instrumental in that conference finals run for the Lakers is back, and having a training camp together, you might think of the possibilities that the Lakers could do if healthy. But that's the problem, if healthy. You still got LeBron James and Anthony Davis, popularly known as Data Davis, who have a lot of mileage on their bodies. And genuinely, they do not have a big to guard Jokic, and that's the biggest issue. It was like Darvin Ham having the nerve to say this ish ain't over. Find somebody to guard Nikola Jokic because AD can't guard him. Who do you think guard him? Jared Vanderbilt? Hachimura? Like the one thing that did work for them, like maybe 3 years ago in their run to the title in the bubble, was that they had physical bodies like Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, to bully up, to try to go at it with Nikola Jokic and save AD from that trouble. You have nobody like that on the Lakers side. Playing small ball against a guy like Jokic, who's has just as much his IQ is unparalleled, just like LeBron's. That's not going to work. And until they get a big that can like tussle with Jokic and get him off of his game, Michael Malone's going to be the Lakers' daddy.
Who know we hear daddy on a Polar Opposites episode? I sure as hell didn't. But regardless of that, I just think it's even a comment from a guy who should have eaten it. You know what I mean? Like, you got swept. They go on to win the championship. The series wasn't really close between the LA and the Nuggets, in my opinion. So at some point you gotta kind of just sit there and take it, Cage. Like, you gotta, kind of Batman's lair, like sit there and think about what you've done and kind of take, reap what you sow, if you will. Saying things on a podcast after they've won the ring, after they've got the championship, like, it just sounds like sour grapes from a guy who, no offense, is a loser. Like, you lost, okay? And that's fine. Not everyone's a winner. Reality. Not everybody's a winner. Not everyone can win. But being able to learn from those mistakes and being able to kind of, I'll say, get that chip on your shoulder of, okay, they got it last year. They had all that fun. They, did this, did that, said this, said that, and using that as motivation. Not like 2 weeks after it happens, going on a podcast and airing it out. Like that. That just, for me, it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
And let me add to this. The Nuggets probably have the most stacked starting five out of any team in the NBA. By far.
And they didn't lose anybody. Like,
And
as much as they lost
and
first round, the sixth man, they still got MPJ, Michael Porter Jr. They still got Jamal Murray, who looked great during the playoff run.
Aaron Gordon looked great.
Obviously, Nikola Jokic, right?
As that connector. And in terms of like the Lakers Nuggets rivalry, they got one guy.
If you can call it that.
Yeah, we got to call it it's technically a rivalry because of like the words being thrown. Is it really? Probably not like the Lakers Celtics of the '80s, but a modern day rivalry, shall we say? But they got a secret. The Nuggets got a secret weapon, a former Laker, who knows LeBron's plays, who knows the Lakers inside and out, and that's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. And it's not because of, and I'm playing. It's not because of that, but he's an underrated two-way piece for that Nuggets team. They just play well together. They're synchronized. They got great synergy. The Murray Jokic combo is probably one of the best little big combos, I would say, since Shaq Kobe. That might be crazy to say, but Murray's also a dog like that. I'm not saying they're on the same level as Shaq and Kobe, but we haven't seen a combo that synchronizes with each other so well since that. So on the Lakers side, there's always going to be some sort of turbulence when it's a LeBron-led team.
And the media is always around them, right, Katie? That also doesn't help.
Absolutely.
The media is always kind of swirling, right? They're always they're the sharks. They're the wolves running over the three-legged cat, right? They're circling. So that also doesn't help.
Yeah, and the media, on the other hand, doesn't do the same with Denver, and we've had a convo about this. But in this sense, this sort of helps. It sort of helps Denver because they can go about their business and not be put under a microscope.
No, and that's definitely right. That they won't be ostracized for every little thing they do. Every little thing will not be digged in on as much as obviously the Lakers and even some teams like the Celtics and Miami. Like, it isn't comparable, which is, as you said, is an advantage to the Nuggets, is an advantage to the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis, who do not get the same attention, even with those two amazing players on their teams, which still makes no sense. But regardless, that's what the media does, and that's what they're gonna do.
And before we move any further, I know we just mentioned LeBron James, but prayers, man, prayers to Bronny James. He suffered a cardiac arrest while working out at USC. He's committed to USC for the upcoming season. He collapsed and suffered a cardiac arrest at a workout on Monday. Now he said, and an ambulance had to be called, and he got transported to an hospital. He's now stable and out of the ICU. But Spencer, man, like hearing that, it's scary, man. It's just scary to hear a young guy with as well conditioned as Bronny is. I would assume so because of the amount of work LeBron has put in over the course of his career. I would assume like he'd make sure his kids are in tip top shape as well. that's every parent's worst nightmare to see your child go through that. And I just hope and prayers to Bronny James, his loved one, his friends, family, his loved ones. I just hope he gets through it, gets out of this, and balls out and has a not only a great career because, and we're not even talking about NBA career because that's the wayside right now. A long and healthy life, because something like this is just downright scary.
I want to echo what you said there about not only just like the basketballs, we can slide that aside. Basketball career, obviously, if he wants that, that will come to him if he's able to physically. But hopefully that this cardiac arrest does not obviously happen again, that he can live a healthy and long life as long as, he wants it to, if you will. But I also do want to quickly say that do not ask those questions of is he vaccinated, is he this, is he that? Who cares? That is such. Have some empathy for another human being. Just be okay saying thoughts and prayers or whatever your equivalent is. I'm not religious. Just whatever you're saying is when something bad happens. Just say, hey, thoughts and prayers, thinking about you, whatever. Just say that. There's no point in trying to bicker about things, about politics and all that other garbage. Just leave it wayside. Just have some empathy for another human being, and you'll be able to sit and say, hey, I hope he's doing all right. Hope the James family's doing all right, and everything works the way it should and works out the best for everybody. Just wanted to say that because I'm getting sick and tired of that garbage about everything becoming political and all that garbage. Just have some empathy for another human being. Just have some empathy.
But that's the problem. Everything people are putting politics aside before empathy and humanity, and that's messed up. And it's messed up. I'm not saying it's right because I know
it's getting worse and more visible. Well, I shouldn't say just worse. It's getting more visible as well, which makes it a problem.
Yeah, it's just hard. It's just heartbreaking to see people not have any empathy. This is a
child.
This is a child.
He's a teenager. He's literally 17, turning 18, going into his first year of college. Kajan, he's 3 years younger than me. I'm born in 02. I don't know he's 05 or 06. But he's 3 to 4 years younger than me. You're in your 30s, right? Sorry, 28.
It's close enough. Close enough. Close to 40.
This guy to us. This guy, I was in 8th grade. This guy was in 5th grade, right? You were in 8th grade. This guy was a first grader. You know what I mean? That's, think about it that way. Think about, when I was in grade 12, what year would he have been in? He would have been a minor niner.
If I was in 8th grade, if I was in 8th grade, man, he would have been 3.
Yeah, right? Think about it, So just out there, have some empathy for a fellow human being, Thoughts and prayers, put your hands up, whatever. But don't make it political for no other reason than because you want to. There's just no.
That's the problem. But that's the problem. This is going to turn political.
It always does.
And it's BS. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say the word out there because I know we're sure that does not.
Clean.
We want to keep it clean, but it's some BS.
It is definitely disheartening to see those kind of things happen. And I want to something a little more positive. Before we get to the Jaylen Brown contract that was signed today, before we get to that, I want to give you this graphic here. So I was skimming through Instagram, as I do. I don't like Twitter. Again, Twitter is the bane of my existence. Threads I've never even touched and probably won't. But I do like Instagram. I scroll through Instagram.
Whatever that's
called
whatever
now. They changed the logo and name to now for Twitter, the X thing, whatever that garbage is. I like Instagram. I scroll through Instagram. It's my preference. So I was scrolling through and I saw this graphic page. And I want to get your opinion. So it's these 4 teams, I'll say all-star teams, but 4 all-time teams. And I want you to tell me which one you think is the best and why. And I want to have a little conversation. Okay? Because all these teams are rather balanced. Obviously, they've all got great players. So it's hard to pick one. So team 1 is Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Kevin Garnett, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That is a really good team already as it is.
I know, eh? Again, that's the first team. There's 4. Team 2, John Stockton, Allen Iverson, LeBron James, Tim Duncan, Shaquille O'Neal.
Ooh.
Don't Would you like that
Okay.
team? And now here's 3: Magic Johnson, Jordan, MJ,
Oh boy.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, Dirk Nowitzki, and Nikola Jokic. Ready for team 4? Steph Curry,
Okay.
Dwayne Wade, Larry Bird,
Wait, hold up.
the
D Wade, Larry Bird.
Larry
Oh
Legend.
boy. Go on.
Oh, sorry. And the power forward. Sorry, I just got texted, so I'm running around right now. The mailman Karl Malone, and ending off with Akeem the Dream Olajuwon. Those are the 4 teams. Now, Cajun, do you like team 1, team 2, team 3, or team 4?
Man, this is tough. This is tough. But if we're thinking guys in their primes, I say take Team 4 out of the picture because Karl Malone will get dummied by Dirk.
Duncan and
Tim.
KG, you think?
Yep.
I mean, he was
And
all-time leading goal point getter, man. He was top 3, dog.
yeah, but here's the one part. Here's the one part that I think people forget. He played his entire career with John Stockton, and Stockton's on his team.
That is fair. He's got Steph Curry though.
Yeah, but it's a different. Steph Curry doesn't really run the pick and roll like that. The connection isn't the same.
That's fair. So team 4 of Curry, D Wade, Larry Legend, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, and Olajuwon put out. That leaves 1, 2, and 3. Cajun, who do you like? Because you can't really go wrong, in all fairness. But who do you like?
It's between Team 1 and Team 3 because I think with the combination of Stockton and AI.
And then LeBron too, right? Like you have like 2 passers, and then obviously the ball dominant
Defensively,
AI.
they're going to get burned. The combination of Stockton and AI.
Well, and not only that, like Duncan, the only part that makes that a team interesting is Duncan because he's so not like nonplussed that like he's not gonna want the ball. So like AI and Shaq can like dominate the ball. If you got passers in Stockton and LeBron who can space the floor, and then you just got Tim Duncan who's just gonna stand in the post like
good. But the shooting's not good enough.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, that is fair from outside. They're not really able to space the floor like some of the other teams. That is fair. But I don't think Team 3 can space the floor either, in all fairness.
Team 3? Dirk and Jokic?
Well, but I'm thinking Giannis, though. Like, where's Giannis going to stand? No offense.
Giannis can run as the de facto 5. Like I feel like it, honestly, it's tough for me between Team 1 and Team 3. But because of like the height and dominance that these 5 have brought, I'm gonna say Team 3.
I think the defensive Team 3 is also going to be a difference. Because, like, no, I know Jokic is kind of a black hole, but having Magic, MJ, and Giannis, like, those 3 guys, Jesus, how are you going to break through that absolute wall? Right?
And not only that, the spacing isn't as bad as you think because MJ is a decent shooter from outside. He's not the greatest, but he's decent.
Yeah.
Magic can keep you honest from behind the arc to a certain degree. Dirk and Jokic are the greatest big men shooters of all time. Arguably.
Yeah.
No offense to Cat or offense to Cat. I mean all the offense to Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Giannis is the only non-shooter in that lineup. And I mean non-shooter. So the spacing concerns are a little bit overblown, and their defense is going to be insane, and I mean insane. And not only that, they can get easy buckets, and that's the biggest thing for me. They can get easy buckets, and can defend.
You know what's amazing, Cage? I keep looking at all these teams, like I kind of keep thinking, like I really like Team 1. Like I think Team 1 with having CP at the point, who doesn't really need to score. You got obviously Kobe to his left. You got KD to his right. Both guys are elite shooters from all 3 levels. You got KG, who is a really good defender and also is a really good scorer. And then you got arguably the greatest center ever in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, doing that goofy ass skyhook that no one can stop, including the three guys going against in Jokic, Shaq, or Olajuwon.
Mm-hmm.
And like it kind of feels like every team kind of picks at their own strength, right? Which again, why it's so hard to pick between, who is the best. And I like your team 3 pick, but I'll be honest, that's not the team I would have picked.
Well, who would it have been? Who would it have been?
I agree with you that AI and Stockton's a weird fit. I do agree that Allen Iverson and John Stockton being your 1-2 is a really weird fit. And as much as I think Shaq does take away from that problem, because not only is he a great rim protector, he also is lethal in the pick and roll and can get those guys enough space to operate. And obviously got LeBron James, who's arguably the best player ever.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that team 4. Like I feel like Curry, so good, arguably the best point guard out of the 4 there. You got D Wade, who is easily the worst 3 out of those 4 guys, like the worst 2 guard, the worst shooting guard out of those compatriots of AI, Kobe, and MJ. He's still really good, and I think he's a relatively plus defender. Larry Bird, talk about spacing. Karl Malone is lethal from the mid range. Yeah, you can talk about he played with John Stockton, whatever, illegal defense. Yeah, but he's still 3rd right now in the world in points ever in the NBA. Guy's lethal from mid range. And Hakeem Olajuwon, one of the more underrated centers of his era. Like, think about it, Kajan. The greatest player ever, in most people's opinion, and MJ, not mine, but most people believe MJ is the best player ever. Olajuwon went first in his draft, and no one argues MJ over Olajuwon. No one says Olajuwon was a bad pick at number 1. That's how good the dream was. Hakeem Olajuwon was so good, the best player went behind him in the draft, and no one complains about him being drafted before him. No one.
Yeah.
So that's how good Hakeem Olajuwon was. And I'm not saying he's better than Shaq or Jokic or even Kareem, but damn good player. Good player. And I'll be honest, KJ, I even think Team 4 would win. I want to see him on the floor. I want to see how it look. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of want to see how those pieces would move and how they'd mesh. Right?
You could say that with all 4 teams, to be honest.
Well, of course you could. Because, again, these are all amazing basketball players that are the best in the world at what they did. At the time they did it, especially. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it'd be so much fun just to watch that Team 4 because you're thinking, okay, well, you got Curry who can shoot the lights at the gym. You got Larry Bird, who was, like, the first guy to really do that. D. Wade, who is plus at just about everything, in my opinion. Like, relatively, he's a plus at everything. I don't think D. Wade really had a flaw.
I think he's the greatest shot blocking guard in NBA history.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was a plus at everything. Like, he was a good defender, good shooter, decent passer.
From the mid range.
And he got better from 3 later in his career, I believe. Like, I don't want to say his 3-point clip is great, but I feel like he got better as his career went on, especially when the game
he's like, he'll keep you honest.
Exactly, which is all you need him to do when you got Curry and Larry beside him. Jesus. Like, he's not like a black hole like other 3-point shooters. Like, no offense to Giannis, but he's not shooting that rock if it gets to him. It's sticking. It ain't moving. You know what I mean?
Let's just hope that team does not play on Sunday because as a certain guy by the name of Scottie Pippen, the mailman does not deliver on Sundays.
Oh, the mailman deliver on Sundays. As long as you hit the free throw line, Cajun, we're good. As long as you hit the free throw line. But no, I just thought that'd be a fun hypothetical. Because, like, I'll be honest, Cage. I looked at that graphic quick, and in my brain, I was like, oh my god, like, I don't know who is the best team there. Because, like, yeah, obviously you have the best players in the world, but like, they're kind of so balanced, and they all do different things really well. Like, you can't, not one team dominates any one category. Like, I think the best defensive team would be Team 1. That's because I love KG and Kareem. Because KD doesn't really play plus defense. Kobe plays plus defense, but that's not what he's great at. CP3 does not play plus defense, right? Unlike Magic, Giannis, and MJ, who play all plus defense. But then Dirk and Jokic are going to get bullied on the defensive end, but they're going to make up for it with how good they are offensively from the 3 levels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably the best. They're arguably the best inside scoring team with Jokic, Dirk, and Giannis, who are with 2 of those 3 also being great outside shooters. And you have MJ, who's arguably the best layup, the best within 5 feet layup guy in NBA history. Like, MJ could make anything if he was near the net. Dunk it, lay it up, contort, Like, other than AI, maybe he's the best. And AI's on the other team with Stockton, who's the best passer ever. You got LeBron, who's another great passer. And you got arguably the most dominant big man ever in Shaq. Not best, but most dominant, most
And
physically
probably the
dominant,
best,
especially.
and maybe the best power forward ever in Tim Duncan.
Who gets disrespected because he was quiet. And then again, you have the mailman, Karl Malone, third in league scoring ever. Larry Bird, one of the best three-point shooters. Steph Curry, the best three-point shooter. Dwayne Wade, who's a plus at everything. And Hakeem Olajuwon, who, again, was drafted before Michael Jordan and is not called a bust or called MJ should be drafted above Hakeem Olajuwon. So we couldn't have went wrong. I just thought it would be kind of fun to have that hypothetical of, great team, great team, great team, great team. Oh, Jesus, who do you pick, right? Like, who would you pick up on a Sunday? Friday night beer league game. Who do you
on
got?
a Sunday, definitely not Team 4.
For Friday night, beer league game, you're pulling up to the Pro-Am, and all of a sudden you got these 4 teams. You're
it's tough for me between Team 1, honestly, because of like the versatility and the fact that Dirk, Jokic, Giannis, MJ, and Magic, they're all dominant in their own sort of ways. That gives me the edge for Team 3 over Team 1, because Team 2, you can pick on Stockton and AI.
Yeah, they're an awkward fit.
Yeah. Team 4, how is Malone going to be without Stockton? Is he's still a great player, but is he the same level of great as he was with Stockton?
Yeah.
Back in the Utah days. There's questions with Team 2 and Team 4. There isn't really much of a question with Teams 1 and Teams 3. It's just Team 1 and Team 3 as it is with Team 2 and Team 4. It's just like, well, who would you prefer? Me, I would prefer Dirk and Jokic, 2 of the greatest shooting big men of all time, with a dominant wrecking force in Giannis. And then you got who could be the best player of all time, like joining LeBron in that convo, and MJ. And then Magic, the OG point guard. Come on now. Like that team is going to be hard to not only score but to stop on the inside.
Yeah, like again, you're spoiled for choice at who you want to pick. Even if you want to pick that, that Stockton AI team, which again, you and I will admit, awkward fit, but like they could beat you too. Like they could win a game. Like if these 4 teams played each other, 8 or 10 times each, that team too would not lose every game. They would beat teams. They would find ways to win. They have talented guys. They have ways to win. It's just they would win less than the other teams, and I agree with you. Team 1 and Team 3 are the cream of the crop. I gotta be honest, man. Team 1, the length, the size, because KD's not a plus defender, but when he's like 7 feet with KG, who's about 7 feet, maybe 6'11", 6'10", you got Kareem who's 7'2", like, Kobe, bigger guard. I like those guys. I love the fit, and then CP3, like the perfect, other than maybe Stockton, the perfect point guard for those guys. Like,
but then if you're talking about length and versatility, I'm like, all the Team 3 has that.
Yeah, no, Team 3 does have. You're right. They don't have the defense on the inside, in my opinion. Well, other than maybe Giannis, but I thought we'd have fun with that conversation. Next up, I'm gonna go to Scrabble. Okay, I'm gonna go to Scrabble. I only got 2 names again. 2 names, 2 weeks. Thought you'd have fun. I was gonna put Jaylen Brown up here, but I thought there was no point because again, Jaylen Brown will be our last topic of the afternoon. But
$300 million man.
Yeah, the $300 million man. Jesus. Anyway, so I got 2 names for you, Kajan.
Okay.
You ready for name number 1?
Yep.
Name number 1 is RNIGTCORAN.
This spelled right?
I'm going to make sure. Yep. And I've double-checked both of these names, so I know I've spelled them right. Like, I know the letters are jumbled up, but they're the right letters. I haven't messed this up again. Okay, I promise. I promise. And you will know who this is. I guarantee you know who this is. That's not my boy Tim Ellis.
DeJounte Carrington?
It is DeJounte Carrington, 3-point competitionist for the WNBA. And then the last one, which again, I know you're going to get, but I thought I'd throw it on there anyway. SIEOUNC.
Ionescu.
You would be correct. So you are again 2 for 2 today, and that makes
14 or
you,
15, baby.
if
I
that
ain't the
is,
Raptors, baby.
you're not the Raptors with DeMar DeRozan's little girl in the front row just yet. Again, I got to
Oh,
get a
we're
couple. I got to get a little harder names here, but I
yeah, but no matter how many names you put, like I'm already like over 50% to the point where I ain't the Raptors.
well, at this point, I got to come up with some really good names for you to start dropping that percentage just a little bit. But as we talked about, I was gonna put in the Scrabble, but thought Brown was a little too easy. Jaylen Brown signs a brand new Supermax, 5 years, $304 million, averaging out to a little over $60 million a season. Now that puts him well into first in base salary. Right now, first is Steph Curry at before this contract, it was Steph Curry at basically $52 million a season at 51.9 per season at a base salary. So this means Jaylen Brown blows Curry out of the water with this new contract. And now again, I will not try to convince anyone that Jaylen Brown is anywhere near as good as the guys that are in this top 10-ish list of contracts in Curry, LeBron James, Joel Embiid, Nikola Jokic, Bradley Beal, somehow up here, but Kevin Durant, Chris Paul,
I mean,
Kawhi
he is better
Leonard,
than Beal.
Giannis. Like in fairness, he's not better than a lot of these guys in the top 10, 11, 12 NBA players in salary. He isn't. And he's sure as hell not $9 million better, $8 million better than Steph Curry. That's just, there's no way of trying to sell you on that. But I will say,
I don't even think he's better than Pascal. I'm just kidding. I'm
yeah,
just kidding.
before I walk over in the room and slap you upside your head, because Kajan, thank goodness, is in the other room, so I can't just walk over and slap in my room. But regardless, you know, Jaylen Brown is not worth $60 million. I am a Celtics fan. I love Jaylen Brown. I am happy to hear him be able to stay as a guy in green and white. But he's not worth $60 million a season. He just ain't. But in my opinion, in 3 years, when the salary cap goes up exponentially due to the China deal, due to the lack of COVID really being a factor in the sponsorships and in the way the world works in 3 years, I expect $60 million will not be as big an eyesore as it is right now. I feel like in 3 years, it will be more of a norm when more guys sign these disgusting supermaxes that are being handed out. So as much as, again, yes, $60 million for Jaylen Brown, who apparently can't dribble through two people, is a problem. It will not be in a matter of a couple of seasons. And that's what I'm holding out. That's where I, as a Celtics fan, I'm holding out for, is that middle ground in between right now and when that deal is basically what the average player, or like not the average player, but the average two option on their team gets. Right? That's what I'm waiting for. And Jaylen Brown's a good player. Let's make sure we say that too. Like, obviously, again, I can't say it enough times. I can't reiterate it enough. He's not worth $60 million. Jaylen Brown's a good basketball player. Jaylen Brown's not a bum. Jaylen Brown's not Kwame Brown, not JaVale McGee, not Bruce Brown, for Christ's sakes. He's a really good basketball player. Jaylen Brown's second best player on the second or third best team right now in the East, if not the best team in the East. And the only guy the only guy in front of him right now is Jason Tatum, who's arguably a top 5 player in the NBA and could have been an MVP last year if he had played a little better at the end. Tail end of the year, he kind of lost his footing in that race. But by halfway through the NBA season, Jason Tatum was in the mix for MVP votes. So, Jaylen Brown is a really good basketball player. And I feel like he'll work his way into the $60 million contract, as most other players do with the Supermaxes after their rookie deals, or their deal after their rookie deals.
He's not living up to 60 million. He's not living up to 60 million, and it's not an indictment on Jaylen Brown. There's only a certain amount of players that are worth that amount of money for me.
And honestly, Kajan, Jason Tatum is one of them. His teammate Jason Tatum is one of those guys who's probably worth about that. You'd think.
He isn't yet, but he's close. He's close. But Jaylen Brown, no. He's not living up to that contract. But it's not an indictment on him. It's just like, you got to be a certain type of player. At least for me. Like Curry, LeBron, KD,
Jokic,
Jokic, that level,
Giannis,
that stratosphere. Jaylen Brown's not even close to that stratosphere.
And no offense to Jaylen Brown, who again I'm a big fan of, he never will be. Like
Mm-hmm.
in all likelihood, he never will be Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic. But again, I don't want to take away from Jaylen Brown. Is a really good scorer, plays really good defense, plays plus defense. Like he is a really good basketball player at both ends of the floor. He just isn't a star. He isn't a superstar. He isn't a generational talent, and he's being paid like one, and he'll be expected to be one. Again, the other sad part about this is Cage, which I think you'll agree with me on this. The Celtics had to do this. Like there was no other way this deal was getting done. The media was saying get this supermax signed. I said the fans were saying get the supermax signed. Just swallow the pill of having to pay him a ludicrous amount of money because the reality is, Cage, the Celtics couldn't replace him. And I know you told me before the broadcast, and I expect you're going to make this point, that they could have tried to get assets that equaled out to Jaylen Brown. They weren't going to get a guy like Jaylen Brown in a trade. They just weren't. They weren't going to get that guy. They weren't going to get a guy that good on offense.
Well, when you're trading a guy as good as Jaylen Brown, you're not going to get the same sort of talent back. But you can get a better fit back. Because right now, the Celtics' biggest issue is that they don't have a guard. They do not have a point guard. They don't have a point guard specifically, unless you really want to rely on the combination of Brogdon, Derek White, and Peyton Pritchard, which is don't know about that.
And honestly, another thing, Cajun, to bring up with the Celtics team, and I know again I have a little more knowledge, of course, because I am a Celtics fan, is there is a guard that was on the bet that got drafted last year, I believe, in the second round or late first round. I want to say it's the first name starts with a J, but his last name is Davison out of Alabama.
JD Davidson.
Yeah, JD Davidson, and Davison is a really good passer. Obviously, he's got some flaws in his game. Late first round, early second round pick out of Alabama. There's reasons why he didn't play basically any minutes last year. But maybe this trade of Marcus Smart to not only make the money work for Jaylen Brown, maybe it's because, second year head coach Joe Mazzulla has seen something from the bench guards, because Peyton Pritchard requested a trade. He will no longer be traded because they got rid of Marcus Smart unless they're adding a better point guard. They have obviously D. White and as you mentioned, oh your goodness, who else did you mention? But those are the only two. Malcolm Brogdon, pardon me. I forgot about him because he was supposed to be the other guard getting dealt before they traded Smart because of his injuries. Before his injury, pardon me, that he had, that now he should be good to go from. They didn't have surgery during the offseason. But maybe that's it. Maybe JD Davison will be a bigger impact player. And if that's true, this will look better. Not great. It still will not be optimal, but it will be better if Pritchard takes a step forward, if Davison takes a step forward, if Brogdon's healthy, right? Like, that's the thing. There's a lot of things that have to go right for this to look good for the Celtics compared to if things go, I'd say, the more likely way and things won't look as good. So that's my only hope as a Celtics fan, is that this is a move that Brad Stevens in the front office has looked at and has talked to Joe Mazzulla, and they've made that decision together. And it's not just Brad, making the trade work, making the money work. Hopefully it was a conversation where, okay, JD's gonna make that jump, Pritchard's gonna make that jump. They already got D. White and Brogdon. They're happy with what they have. And not just hoping in magic beans. They're not hoping that jump will happen. They haven't seen it yet. They're going to hope it happens, right? Hopefully they've seen it in practice and that the jump is made and the fans see it, right? That's the hope.
Yeah.
But right now, again, we haven't seen it. So right now you and I are speculating that, right now with the way the team roster looks, they need a point guard. They need a point guard in a bad way. And I don't know where it's going to come from, right? I don't know where it's going to come from.
Hey, Big Rob.
Yeah, exactly. And you've been talking about that a while here, Cage, on this pod, that Robert Williams is an underrated passer. And I've seen from reports on my on the Boston Wire that he's improving his mid-range game. And if that's true, and Robert Williams is not a black hole from not saying 25 feet. I'm saying 18 feet. I'm saying 20 feet. He consistently hit jumpers at that free throw line area. He'll be dangerous. Teams will have to key out him on offense, not only again on how good he is defensively. Key out on him on defense,
Call
and
me
then you can really
crazy
use him.
call me crazy on a team like Boston. I don't think he even needs to do that because look at Giannis.
That exactly. He can be, but the best part is, Cage, he can be that main facilitator, but a facilitator in the offense, and be able to shoot from 20 feet, shoot from 18 feet consistently ish. Because there's gonna be kicks. If he's just working on this, like if he's just really putting effort into it this summer to get better at it, to be able to facilitate more,
Yep.
there's gonna be kicks. There's gonna be nights where he shoots 2 for 13. That's just gonna happen. That's reality. But if he can increase the clip and be be more consistent as well, and be a good passer like he's been, and be a plus defender, which he's been. I mean, Robert Williams, again, as I've said since he was drafted and has really made his leaps and bounds into the starting lineup for the Celtics, he's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the reason why the Celtics are going to be a great basketball team or not. Because, again, Jaylen Brown's good. Jason Tatum's an MVP candidate. You know what you were getting out of Smart and Grant Williams, which are now Malcolm Brogdon, D. White, Peyton Pritchard, Porzingis. It's Robert Williams. If Robert Williams is a great passer, does improve that mid-range game, and again is that great defender we know he is, like the sky's the limit for that team. It's just can Robert Williams stay healthy? Can Robert Williams be a plus shooter and be a plus passer? Remains to be seen. But I think he could do it. I know you think he could do it because again, we want to plant our flag as a Marquise Noel fanboy, especially for me. We're Robert Williams fans. I love that guy. Love that kid. Got a jersey of him for a reason. Love Robert Williams. Love Time Lord. Right? And I know he's a fan favorite in Boston, kind of like Marcus Smart was. Boston likes certain players. They love guys like Marcus Smart. They love guys like Robert Williams. So, are pulling for him, and we hope that he can make those adjustments, make those leaps. Because if he can, sky's the limit for Boston, man. The sky is the limit. In the East, it's only getting better. In the Eastern Conference, it's only getting better, especially at the top.
Yeah.
Especially at the top. And then you got young teams like Pistons. Eventually, Detroit's going to find the right mix. With all those guards, they're going to find the right mix. Charlotte should eventually get better.
Don't count on that.
Especially with Michael Jordan finally selling his shares to the team and they finally get a good owner, hopefully, that won't meddle in everything.
James Dolan really was the only person that voted against that sale. That's crazy.
Well, because maybe he thought that's the only owner worse than me. The only owner worse than me is Michael. Keep Michael in. He'll make me look good. Now James Dolan's really the sitting duck as probably the worst owner in the NBA, other than maybe the Minnesota Timberwolves you and I talked about, because they've always been bad. Timberwolves have never had sustained success in their history. Never had sustained success.
Doggish. Without using that word, doggish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They've been pretty horrible in their history. Same with the Charlotte Hornets, and same in the last 20 years with the New York Knicks. But, again, remains to be seen if those organizations will ever fully turn it around. Because the Knicks will stick around this year, but still, turn it fully around. Be like title contenders, because the Knicks are not that. They're not that. They're playoff contenders, but they're not title contenders. And they won't be until they, I'd say, majorly improve that lineup. I don't think they need a tweak. That's the funny part. They made the second round last year, Cage. And I don't think they're a minor tweak away. Usually teams that make second round, you're like, okay, small tweak. They're there. Like, I feel like the team they beat, the Cavs, I think Cleveland's closer than the Knicks to a championship. I genuinely believe that. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers, with like maybe a small tweak, health going their way, I feel like they're a closer title contender than the Knicks are, who beat them in the first round.
I honestly think they need a better. I honestly think something's got to give with that too big lineup, though. There's got to be more balance.
Mobley and Allen.
Yeah, because they don't have they have the guards, they have the bigs, but they don't have that wing, and you need a wing to win a title.
Again, exactly. They need that one switch. With the Knicks, you don't really see that, right? Like, I love RJ Barrett, not been as advertised. Not a big Julius Randle fan. I know you're not a big Julius Randle fan.
But RJ Barrett showed something in that playoff run to make you think he could reach that step soon.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, Jalen Brunson had a great end of the year, had a great second half. I don't even know who their two guard is on the top of my head because I know Jaylen Brown's
Josh
or
Hart.
no, I'm Josh Hart. I was thinking quickly as well. Talented guy off the bench, I believe. I think he also started some minutes there too. RJ
And
plays
then
for
they just
three,
added
and then
Dante DiVincenzo.
who's a good bench scorer as well. He'll definitely add some bite to that bench.
And he plays bigger than he is.
That's true as well. He's a plus. I don't not say a plus defender, but he definitely knows he's a decent defender. He won't be a black hole on defense. And then obviously I think you have Mitch Robinson playing center, who's literally just playing rim protection. He's not scoring the basketball intentionally. He's not touching the ball in offense unless he's just doing a little grab and throw.
He did punk Jared Allen and Evan Mobley though, which was shocking to see.
Exactly, but how many times is that going to happen, right? Like that's not going to happen. You wouldn't think it happens more often, right? You think
I didn't think it was going to happen during that playoff run, but it did.
But it did. So we'll see if they can keep it going though, because maybe the Knicks will prove us wrong. Maybe the Knicks will prove me wrong. I know I'm doing a lot of talking right now. Probably more talking this episode I've done in any polar opposite episode. But regardless, it'll be interesting to see how the East shakes out, because the Cavs should get better, the Knicks should get better, the Bucks should get better. Obviously, you still got the Sixers, still got the Celtics. We'll see if either of them make any improvements, or if they fall down the rankings due to all the other teams moving up. You got the Pistons, who should improve with getting Cade Cunningham back. I can't remember who they drafted. Did they get one of the Thompson brothers? They get Answer?
Wait, who are we talking about? Detroit?
Detroit. They got Answer Thompson?
Also, yeah.
Yeah, Osser, pardon me. Osser Thompson. And, other teams in the Raptors, if they sell to an Eastern Conference team, did that team get better with whoever they get? You got to expect Indiana's going to make improvements, with their young core, their young nucleus. And if they make a trade for Siakam, how much better are they going to get? So many moving pieces in the Eastern Conference still.
Miami, if they figure things out with Lillard.
They went to the NBA Finals.
Yep.
Like they went to the NBA Finals, and they were a play-in, or just about. No, they were a play-in before I messed that up, right? So,
man as a Boston fan is gonna have nightmares of Max Strus and Gabe Vincent.
And don't even remember that Caleb Martin bum, B-U-M, bum.
If he's a bum, then so is the rest of that Celtics roster. Stop playing with me.
Oh no, they played like bums in that conference final. They're not bums.
Exactly, but they played like bums when it mattered, right? So they bums until proven otherwise.
It happens, but again, if Jason Tatum doesn't roll his ankle in the first 30 seconds of that game,
I still think they would have lost.
The game is different, and you can't convince me otherwise, Cage. I'm not going to say they wouldn't lose, but I'm telling you, the game would have been different if Tatum doesn't roll his ankle in the first 30 seconds of the game.
Yeah, but that Celtics team always jacks up threes.
I turned on the TV, Cajun, to seeing a replay of Jason Tatum rolling his ankle and being hurt. And I knew in that moment, oh no, they're going to lose. So, and I'm not an optimistic viewer of sports either. I am normally on the more antsy side when it comes to my teams when I watch. But the moment I saw Tatum roll his ankle, I got, this game's over. There's very little chance the Celtics win now. Still had hope. Still was watching. Still was trying to be behind my team. But the moment I see Tatum go down, there wasn't a whole lot of faith there. Wasn't a whole lot of faith. Not for me, at least.
I don't know, man. The way their play style was, that was just a talented team that just played like a bunch of idiots, jacking up threes and all that. I'm like, what are we doing? Like in the words of Spencer, what are we doing?
What are we doing, Cajun? I say that a lot watching sports. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? But after almost an hour of our 2-week edition of Polar Opposites, episode number 5, as you said. Again, thank you, Cajun. I think we'll wrap it up. I think we've got enough. So for Cajun, Thiruthanikasalam, I'm Spencer Byers. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 5th episode of Polar Opposites. We'll be back next week. For sure, no ball hockey, nothing getting in the way. We'll be back next week, Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll be back on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you prefer to listen to this on, or watch, if you want to close your eyes and imagine us talking to each other, yelling at each other, because Cage is usually wrong, as he is. But anyway, again,
you were saying I was right a whole bunch of times today, though.
All right, dead clock strike twice a day, Cajun. For
Yeah,
Cajun,
or in this case, like
Thiruthanikasalam.
9 times.
I'll let you believe that. 9 times out of 100. There you go, Cajun. 9 times out of 100. But for Cajun, Thiruthanikasalam, I'm Spencer Byers. Thank you so much for tuning into Full Hours. And see you next week.
Cat is still a bum.
Cat is still a bum.